What's the first image that comes to mind when I say the word addiction?
I didn't sleep again last night. I was up all night binge watching that show.
Some people use the word addiction quite casually, but increasingly today, we use the term addiction to describe problematic behavior. There's not even a drug, such as alcohol, cocaine, or heroin involved. Still, people feel cravings, lose control, and feel a compulsion to engage in certain behaviors, sometimes despite serious negative consequences. We're talking behaviors like sex, eating, gambling, shopping, and internet gaming, to name just a few. Exploring what we'll call behavioral addictions, though there are other names, is what this series is all about. Hi, I'm Dr. Bruce Ballin, a psychiatrist working with the Problem Gambling Institute of Ontario at the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health, also known as Camh. You may be asking, how can someone be addicted to behaviors if there's no actual drug being ingested? We'll cover this more in our next episode about the brain. For now, we can tell you that there are a number of factors that sometimes make it hard for people to stop certain behaviors. This includes chemical rewards that get released in their brains when engaging in behaviors like gambling, shopping, and more. Let's call those biological factors. There are a host of other factors that each gives us insights into our addictive behaviors. We are particularly interested in psychological and social factors, as well as culture and spirituality. Taken together, they not only help us understand addictive behaviors, but they point to effective ways that people with these problems can be helped. Of course, controversy still exists about whether these are true addictions or not. You might want to take that up with the folks who put together the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. That's like the Google of psychiatric terms, but much, much heavier. They have put gambling in a new category called addiction and related disorders to reflect the science that some behaviors act just like substance abuse. And people have been turning to the 12-step addiction recovery model originated by Alcoholics Anonymous for a variety of behavioral problems for years. But regardless of what you call these problematic behaviors, there's something going on that needs addressing now. You need to explore the cause of the behavior and contributing issues, or it can be like a revolving door. The person just turns to the next addictive behavior. And what are those contributing issues? What makes one more vulnerable to behavioral addictions? Well, if we look deep inside, we often find the person has experienced stress, trauma, addictions to other substances, impulsivity, and other mental health issues. Often there are societal issues involved, such as poverty or marginalization. But if some of these behaviors can be quite pleasurable or even healthy in moderation, how do you know when there's a problem? Consider, is the behavior affecting your health, finances, or relationships? Are you starting to miss school or work? Are you spending so much time doing this behavior that it's having a negative effect on other important parts of your life? If yes, then it's worthwhile exploring. We'll get into more specific behavioral addictions in future episodes. If you or someone you know might need some support, find out more at techhealth.ca. Have you ever wondered why people keep repeating a behavior, even when it becomes self-defeating? Hi, I'm Dr. Bruce Ballin, a psychiatrist working with the PGIO, Problem Gambling Institute of Ontario at Camh. Welcome to the second episode of our series regarding behavioral addictions. There's been a common belief that it is only drugs that people become addicted to. These days, science is showing us that we don't need to be using drugs to be addicted. The key to that mystery includes many biological, psychological, social, spiritual, and cultural factors. Today's episode will look at some of the biology implicated in behavioral addictions. In other words, we will be exploring your brain on gambling, shopping, eating, sex, internet, gaming, and more. But first, a little background on the brain. Our brains are made up of nerve cells, also known as neurons. These neurons communicate with one another through neurotransmitters, chemical messages that carry signals from one brain cell to another or to other parts of our bodies. There are two major types of neurotransmitters. Excitatory, think of these as a team of hockey players trying to get you riled up. The message they give is go! While inhibitory neurotransmitters are your brain's brakes. They send messages saying stop, slow down. When you put substances into your body, your brain releases neurotransmitters, including dopamine, an excitatory neurotransmitter important for addictions. When you have an experience you like, dopamine is released, sending go messages. Give me more of those drugs or that pleasing behavior. Everything from a tasty food to an exciting experience. Your brain learns to associate the things that surround the rewarding experience with the reward. People with addictions also have rituals around their drug use, seeking it, buying it, getting paraphernalia. This ritual can also release dopamine and give the person a sort of high for even taking the substance. So you start to get a dopamine reaction in anticipation of the rewarding experience. This reaction to what was formerly a neutral stimulus, such as the drug paraphernalia or the place where you engage in the behavior, is called classical conditioning. You may have learned about Pavlov's dog in school. If you're not familiar with this story, scientist Ivan Pavlov found if he rang a bell and gave his dog some food, repeating the sequence several times, the dog started to salivate at the ring of the bell before the food was even presented. Of course, human beings are much more sophisticated, but conditioning can work in a similar way. Let's say Harry goes to the casino and wins big time at the slots for a few times. The next time he goes to the casino, the slot machines act like a cue and he starts getting quite excited. Then he starts gambling and his brain releases dopamine and other reward chemicals. Dopamine helps us to remember when something was really, really good. This leads to what we call chasing the high. Like a person's won a big jackpot. Wow, I feel so great. I won a lot of money and I want to get that feeling back again. These chemicals affect our brains, making us want to return to the activity again and again, just like with drugs. The same process can happen with shopping, eating, internet porn, and a range of other behaviors. Of course, not everyone who gambles, shops, eats, or watches porn gets addicted. There is some evidence that some people may be more sensitive to cues. Also, as we talked about in our last episode, people who become addicted often have risk factors, such as having another mental health issue or having experienced trauma. We'll explore this and other issues as we continue our series. If you or someone you know might need some support, find out more at techhealth.ca.